Hello. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 282, I have DiElle Hannah on the podcast. Yes, she is a voice coach, audiobook producer, entrepreneur, and yes, former life composer. And yeah, every 2 weeks she's very busy making tracks and music here, there, and everywhere. How are you today, my lady?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for having me. What a
Well,
lovely welcome.
well, you know what? I try my best. I try my best. Some people say I'm quite trying, but that's another story. Yeah. But yes, I have to say, bringing you on today, look, I think what you do is rather important. And like this, there is going to be a greater need for people to, how can I say, present themselves on like basically publicly, but more on the social media front, because more and more people are trying to produce content. And yet it's one of those things where you look at people and they don't know how to present themselves in the best light sometimes. And yeah, with your sort of, how can I say, your rather lengthy music history, I thought bring you on today, have that conversation, you know?
Yeah, great. Love to. It's true. More and more people are getting in front of the camera and speaking in all kinds of different roles where it wasn't necessary before. And yeah, it's really good to get my hands dirty and work with people like that. Yeah.
Mm. Before we go there, I have to ask, how did you get your hands dirty in the whole music industry? You seem like such a nice, pleasant person. Mm,
You know what? I tried so hard to have a normal life.
okay.
I did.
Okay.
I tried. I really tried. I really did. I used to work for the NHS, and I'm just obsessed with music. I'm just obsessed with music. Um, One of my earliest memories is of being under the piano at my nana's house when I was about 4, and I was always brought up with great music in the house and great, always singing. Both my parents were always singing, and everything was very musical in the house. My grandmother on my dad's side was kind of she was the matriarch, and she would bring um she was one of 14, so they had like
Oh,
14 brothers and sisters, and a lot of them used to get together, and it was their way of socializing. And I think I just grew up with it being, center of the home. It's a way of bringing people together. It's a way of expressing yourself and all that kind of stuff. And I just loved it. I just loved it. I started performing when I was 8. I started training when I was 11, and it's just in my bones. And I tried really hard.
yeah.
I tried really hard to do the normal things. I bought a house. I I I had a respectable job, and I was just miserable. I just, I had all of the things that you're supposed to want, and I'm, very grateful for that. But it just didn't light my soul on fire, and I always wrote, and I was always in bands and stuff like that. And eventually it just got to the point where I just can't live without it.
Mm.
So it was definitely more of a case of I'll tell you what happened. I was on my way home I was working in Winchester at the time, and I was on my way home, and the train before mine had been cancelled, and my train journey was about 20 minutes. And I'd had a really difficult shift. It had been, yeah, just really, really hard. And my train was absolutely packed because the one before it had been cancelled, so there was nowhere to sit.
Mm.
And I had my laptop with me. That was, like an old, heavy, big dude of a laptop, and I managed to squeeze myself into the corner and get my laptop open, and I balanced my laptop on the bin on the train, standing up, surrounded by people all squished around, just so that I could score a couple of bars of something that I was writing and I just sort of saw myself from the outside thinking, this is what I really want to do. This is like, you know, that is a vision of something that somebody really, really wants to do, that you're going to balance your laptop on a bin for 10 minutes. Because I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait till I got home. You know, I just couldn't wait to, you know, as soon as and it was that day really that I knew I had to give it a shot. And it's, yeah, I mean, what an amazing opportunity to pursue, you know, pursue a life. I feel very lucky to have discovered that so early in my life. I think sometimes people, you know, you do all the normal things and you buy a house and you get a good job and you get married and you have babies and you do all the things that you're supposed to do, and it's not until much later in life that people come to the thing that really sets them alight inside. And I feel very fortunate to have worked that out at a relatively young age. Other people wake up when they're 4 and there's no plan B. It's like, I'm going to be a singer and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I didn't. My journey wasn't that easy, but yeah, it was just, yeah, passion won out in the end.
Yeah, no, like this is the thing. What I would simply say is like we often, all of us, like often like live life by the sort of paint by numbers like game where, yeah, you mentioned getting the house, like settling down, having the, like doing the 2.4 kids, and like, you know what I mean, working that sort of, no, I wouldn't say drudgery of a 9 to 5, but just doing the nine
Yeah.
to five, which will get you all of the things
Yeah.
you would get in a standard life, but won't necessarily make you happy. Okay. Now, when people find their purpose, it's a totally different paint palette. Rather than the numbers being there and everything like this, and you got to paint there, you're painting with a blank canvas, seeing where you take it. And like finding that, it must have been liberating for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it was, absolutely. And it's terrifying as well, because it's like, I know if I don't pursue this, the regrets that I have will be my fault. It'll be because I was too chicken. It will be because I couldn't make it work, or I wasn't willing to work that hard, or, you know, make no mistake about it, it would have been much easier to stay at the NHS. Like, it's been hard. It's been really hard. But you know, in terms of, you know, getting the normal things that people need to have, it would have been much easier to stay where I was in lots of ways. But I just knew I was dying inside. And it is terrifying when you're staring down the barrel, and that's the choice. And I think everybody's got to make that decision for themselves. I am somebody who I would 1,000 times over rather regret the things that I've done, rather than wonder what might have happened if I'd had the guts to try. And believe me, I've tried and failed more times than I can begin to tell you. But I know I've given it everything, and when we all go smashing into the sun, I'll know that I didn't hold back on anything.
Indeed. No, but
Yeah.
like this is the thing. To try and fail, it's like, yeah, it's everything. At least you went out there and, like, you know what I mean, gave it your shot. Like many people would be like, yeah, doing this would be easier, living this life would be easier. But I'd simply go, would you be happy just doing that? And I think people don't sort of sometimes look at that whole it's easier, but they don't equate it to their sort of happiness or well-being. You know what I mean? Like, I imagine your life got a lot happier, even though there was a lot more tension, say, on the day-to-day, compared to like a guaranteed sort of like, you get up at this time, you work these hours, and get paid this much. Like, what would you say was the sort of main difference you experienced when you like first sort of took that epic but noble step?
Main difference. I think I felt alive in ways that I had never felt before. I'm hesitating whether or not to go like this heavy this early, but I lost a friend when I was very young.
Uh-huh.
And it gave me a completely different perspective on life. One of my oldest friend in the world died in a car accident when I was 17, and it just made me, and he was just about to leave university. He was a couple of years older than me, and he was just about to leave university, and we used to talk on the phone for hours every weekend. And he was like, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to travel to this place. And he was just about to start doing all the things that he'd planned to do, and he never got a chance to do it. And I think that is on my shoulder every day. And so even from a really young age, like, you know, I traveled a lot when I was really young. My poor parents, I mean, I just, you know, okay, I'm going to go to Ecuador now, and you know, and I would be away for months or years sometimes. You know, I traveled a lot when I was really young, and I'm really glad that I did, because some of the things, you know, I dived on the Great Barrier Reef, and it's already dead. You know, it's like, if I'd waited, if I'd not taken that opportunity when I had it, I would have missed out. So, you know, there are a lot of those kind of things, and I've always been, I've got a little bit of a rebellious streak, and quite a big adventure kind of thrill seeker kind of streak. So I'd done a lot of crazy things before this, and I think this is maybe another reason why, having, you know, the whole settling down thing, I just really struggled with it. I did try. I promise I tried. But
Okay.
I just couldn't do it. And I think taking that, so what I did was phase it out. So I didn't just quit my job one day and say, right, that's it. I phased it out. So I was building up more streams of income that were related to music, and phasing out my old and phasing out my day job, essentially. So it wasn't a big dramatic kind of and I'm gone and slam the door, you know. I actually loved the work at the NHS. I think you know, I used to work in mental health, and it's massively valuable. I really enjoy it. I'm a people person. I love spending time with people, and mental health is such an important discussion. I'm really pleased if one good thing has come out of the pandemic, it's that it's brought the discussion about everybody's mental health into the mainstream. And I would find, you know, what am I doing with these people on the ward? We're singing, we're playing music, we're watching movies, but you know, they're in some of the darkest hours of their life, and what's comforting them is the arts, you know, painting, music. It's they're not unrelated, those, you know, those things, but but yeah, when I realized, I was like, oh my god, I'm actually going to do this, and it just lights me up in a way that I never knew was possible. And even now, all these years later, I'm working with a new co-writer at the moment. Hi Dave, if you're listening. And we're working on our first song together, and we've had a few co-writes together, and we just really click. And it's funny because it's one of those things that when you get on a creative level with somebody who really gets you, it's like no other relationship, you know, like how some of your friends just get it, and some people you're friends with but they just don't quite get it. It's a little bit like that with this new co-writer, and every time, you know,
they get you the vibe.
Yeah, and we have a really good session, and we might do, you know, an hour or 2 hours or something, and we hang out from the call, and it's like, and I can feel my whole body is excited, you know, there's energy in every cell in my body, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with how much money I'm earning. It's got absolutely nothing to do with whether or not my teachers at school are going to give me an A. it's just, it fulfills me on a deep soul level that has got nothing to do with those otherworldly things that we have made mean everything in our society. And I never would have got that from just doing a normal job to get a paycheck, to have a house, to have a baby, to send to school, to get a job, to get a paycheck. You know?
I understand. I have to ask, does music to you equal freedom?
That is a brilliant question. I have never been asked that. I think, in a lot of ways it does. It's a freedom of expression. It's in lots of ways. There's like when we're performing, for example, that's another aspect of it, I think, that is in a live situation. So I play in a band at the moment with John and Chris. So I've got a trio, which is my original act, but I do solo gigs as well. But I gave up I gave up pretty much everything else about 5 or 6 years ago. So like wedding bands and stuff like that I used to do as well.
Okay.
So I've got function experience and stuff, but I gave up all that kind of thing to focus on the artist project about 5 or 6 years ago. And when we're playing live and all three of us sing, so I love vocal harmonies, and there's just, again, that's just something else that it's like it just comes from heaven. There's no other feeling like it on earth when you've got all three of you singing together. And I shut my eyes and it's like it's like another level of consciousness. It's like do you meditate?
I don't like, if I do meditate, like it's when I'm going for a run, like, so like
right.
I'm sort of like playing
like movement meditation.
Yeah. So anything what's going through my head, thoughts and everything like that, but I am not the type. I can't say I'm the type of person which can sit down and like not give it the ohms, but like the whole must clear your head. Now, no, I'm not that type of person. But if you got me moving, I can, like, that's how I sort of process and meditate my like sort of like stress or whatever is going through my head at that time.
I get that totally. It's there's loads, there are lots of different goals of meditation depending on who you ask, and there are loads of different ways of doing it. And for me, one of the things about actually arriving in the current moment and being in the current moment and being completely wholeheartedly focused on what is happening right now. So we're not worrying about what's going to happen next. We're not worrying about things that have just happened. I'm not sitting here thinking I've got 100 emails that I haven't read or whatever, and just achieving that oneness with the current moment is a type of freedom, and that is something that I definitely get from the doing. And maybe you're getting a similar thing from running, and other people get a similar thing from cold water swimming or paddleboarding or like whatever your thing is.
Put it this way, when I went out this morning and like it was cold enough, cold water swimming. No, thank you.
Oh, I know. God, these people are amazing, aren't they?
Oh God, when hot. No, it's like you keep your cold therapy to yourself. Thank you. I'll be happy over here. Warm. No, because like this is the thing. Like, look, it must be somewhat of a challenge to go down the entrepreneurial path for yourself. Like, not like judging you or anything like this. It's a case of you seem to be a very sort of spiritual connectee type person. And let's just say, when like the stereotype would be, hey, I'm drifting with the the moonbeams and this, and like, I'm connected with this spirit. But that sort of day-to-day discipline to like keep running your business and keeping things together is a very sort of different persona, different identity. How do you manage to bring those two together to work in harmony?
I think it is a very, very different headspace. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I work really hard on time management.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a diary with lots and lots of different colors, and sometimes to a painful degree, my life is mapped out to the hour, particularly at this time of year. It's crazy at this time of year. But yeah, I have to be really disciplined with that. And I'm aware that there are things that I need to do. I was also very lucky that I was brought up in an entrepreneurial household. My parents are business owners, and my dad's been an entrepreneur since he was
The apple doesn't
11.
fall
I
too
don't
far away
know.
from the tree.
Yeah, so I was brought up with a lot of like a different yeah, just a business viewpoint about things like money and time and um strategic ways of doing things and all of that. So I think I'm quite lucky in that respect that it wasn't completely alien to me to start. It's just like some of the ways that you think about money, like money has to work differently when you have a business, and that can also be liberating, and that can also be a completely mash your mind. But I was lucky really that didn't, and they helped me as well. My parents did help me with the really practical things like the bookkeeping. I mean, oh my God, it really was a testament to I really am not going back to work if I'm willing to sit here and do this. And there are some parts of it I do really struggle with. I'll be honest, there are some parts of it where I want to put my head in the oven. But I just have to have a word. I'm like, come on, Dee, it's not that bad. Just get on with it, and then you can go back to the studio. But yeah, some parts of it, I do really. It's struggle isn't the right word. There is some. I feel like at the beginning of the day, like right, this is your budget for energy that you've got today, and you've got like this much, and I could go and sit in a room with Dave or one of my other co-writers, or have a band rehearsal with John and Chris, and I could do that for 12 hours, and I would have used like 10%. If I've got to do bookkeeping that day, someone better have a drink for me when I get home at the end of the day. It's just like about how much energy certain things take, and I've got better at recognizing that about myself. Like there are some things that I don't like doing at certain times of day. There are some things that I need, that if I know that I've got running a business isn't just about doing the books. It's just that's the bit that I find most challenging. Yeah, and just I'm a firm believer in listening to your body. Like one of the biggest things about building my timetable the way that I want it meant that I don't have to have an alarm clock. So I just let myself wake up naturally every day. And I think that was massive, because there are some times when you work shifts and stuff, and you've got I mean any of you listening to this, if you work shifts, my heart goes out to you, because I think it's really difficult. And being a musician, I'm still working crazy hours, but at least I knew that I had to protect the morning time. And I still wake up early. It's not like I want to sleep till 11 o'clock, but I still wake up early, but I can do that when my body is ready. And now that I've lived like that for a really long time, if I have to have an alarm for something, I actually feel physically sick for most of the day. If I'm woken up by an alarm clock before I'm ready, I think, God, I was living like that. Well, since you've got to go to school when you're 11 or whatever, and you've got to get yourself out of bed, you're woken up with an alarm clock every day. And that was a really big piece for me, just kind of building a timetable around just planning for success, really, like not making things difficult for yourself, and doing the things that are easy at times that are not so easy.
No, I understand where you're coming from. Like, because yes, there is this like day-to-day conformity we often have to go to. Which, you know what I mean, is called work. It's 9 to 5. And people who don't have that, and when they have that sort of realm of freedom, that sort of free time, it is it is very interesting because some people can handle it and some people can't. Like this, like one of the things with regards to 2020, I got to see, like, I was put on furlough. So yeah, so I was like, okay, so what am I going to do with myself? Okay. Like, yes, I've got lots of time now where I can put that energy into doing the podcast and like, yeah, run every now and then, like, yes, early in the morning. Like very local. If anyone's listening from the government, it was very local. Yeah. But I like managed to put some type of structure to my day and everything like this.
Yeah, so important.
Yeah. Other people, if you don't have that sort of realm of structure, that conformity to wake up at this certain time, you've got to be at
Yeah.
work on this time, it really messes with them. And like, you know, it is a strange thing, like where I think some people, as much as they might desire freedom, it's one of those things where it's that free amount, like that freedom will give them that sort of realm of
Yeah.
doom, dread. Like, so with yourself, it's like, yeah, you are you kind like you kind of blow my mind because you kind of are like a number of contradictions of yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like because yeah, it's like all right, because you're non-conformist, but in some respects, to be a business person, to be an entrepreneur, especially if you're providing a service, you do
Yeah.
have to conform to some level.
You have to have rules. You absolutely
Yeah,
do. And yeah, absolutely. And that doesn't matter how creative you are, you still got to drive on the right. You know, it's
yeah,
and I this has evolved over the years. Like when I first started phasing myself out of my um out of my day job, and I was building up more things. I was doing more and more work
mm,
from home. And when you first start doing that, it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I'm like in bed with my laptop and I think, oh my god, I'm just gonna answer my emails in bed. That's brilliant. That is a terrible idea. Don't do that if you're thinking about starting business from home.
why?
Like, you know, and I had to learn to compartmentalize because it's great for like a week, and then after that it's like you've got no boundaries between your personal space and your workspace, you know. I and I live on site now, so we have to be disciplined about. And I am, like I say, because I'm a musician, we work on social hours and we are bookable up to 10 o'clock at night. And you know, people will think that they can ring me at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning and stuff like that. And they people will think that you're available 24/7 if you don't put like game plan out there. So I was like, these are my office hours. If you want to get a hold of me, ring the office. If you Facebook Messenger me, WhatsApp, any other way that you contact me, I will ignore you because that's not how I'm going to run things. Like, you know, I have an office phone number, I have an office email, and I have, you know, so for every project that I have communication guidelines set up so I can control um the amount of stimulus that you're getting from the outside world, and try to corral it in some kind of way into a working timetable. And I think this is where I'm really grateful to have had a couple of proper jobs
Mm.
before I started this, because I see a lot of young musicians, I mean, people who are better musicians than I would ever be, just roll out of college, and you've got no idea that it's like, no, that's a personal task. You should be doing that during your personal time. This is work time, and this is a work task. And when you're at the Sunday, when you're sitting around dinner table on a Sunday with your family, that is not a time to be answering work emails. Like, that is a work task that needs to go during your work time. Just like I wouldn't turn up on the ward and, you know, get to work on the ward and ring my mum. It's like, you don't do that. You do that on your break time. So like having that discipline about, like, I really do strongly compartmentalize between my private life and my work life, but also my different aspects of my work life, because some aspects of my work life are very creative and you need to have a certain amount of freedom. You need to have a little bit more freedom. And other aspects of it, if you have too much freedom, it's just a car crash. One of my streams of income is teaching. It's like, and you have to organize that stuff properly, otherwise it doesn't get done. Nobody learns anything, and it's all just a galactic waste of everybody's time. You need. So I've got a timetable. I've got a timetable for my students, and we have great time, but it's organized.
Yeah. How long did it take you to come to this epiphanal moment?
What of right now?
Basically, like the whole sort of like, yes, there has to be some type of structure, or like, yeah, or it will just spiral out into chaos.
Yeah, I think it these things evolve, and I started to just be philosophical about it for just a second. One thing that we all have the same is time. Like, you've got the same 24 hours in a day that I have.
Yes.
And when all is said and done, our life is how we've chosen to spend that set of 24 hours every day. I'm in a very fortunate position right now where I have to choose every hour. I have to choose usually between things that I want to do. So I've got 3 things. I can only do one of them, but I want to do all of them.
Mm-hmm.
That I find much, much harder than having a choice between, you've got 2 things to do. You want to do one, but you don't want to do the other, right? But that was where it started. So when I was first building, this crazy world that I live in, it happened slowly, and some of these things weren't a problem to start with, and I wasn't desperately overwhelmed with. And I mean, I know there's a beauty filter on this camera, which I didn't buy. It just came with the camera. I'm a lot older than I look. And I didn't have social media.
So you're 18. Okay.
I didn't have all of the, smartphones didn't exist. I've been doing gigs since before email existed. Like, we didn't have to worry about all of that. And I mean, I was young, but we didn't have to worry about all of that. And I think what has happened is that as I come up against, I'm not somebody who copes very well with repeatedly having the same problem. It's like, if this is going to be an issue, then we need to come up with something that's going to deal with that, because otherwise I'll just go nuts. Yeah. And so when I realized that people would just contact me all hours of the day and night, like, I just cannot believe, sometimes still to this day, I still can't believe the audacity that somebody would send someone else, another human being that is not their mother and it's not an emergency, would send someone a text at 6 o'clock in the morning. I think it's just, what are you doing? Like, just wait until a reasonable hour. But once I realized that I was just getting completely inundated with people repeatedly contacting me in ways that are just not manageable. It's just not manageable. That I had to come up with a system for that. And so I would say, right, okay, email me on, if you want to phone this number. If you want to email this. And these are the office hours that I'm going to keep, and I'll get back to that. So I have to commit to that. So that means that if I am sending emails at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, then they're going to think, well, she didn't really mean it.
Emails. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't really, it doesn't really matter. So it's rules for all of us, and thinking about something that is acceptable service. I like to give a high level of service to everybody, whatever they've come to us for. And so that people are getting the correspondence that they need, and and we're getting back to people in a reasonable time, but also that we're all learning that texting each other at 6 o'clock in the morning is not sustainable.
No.
You can't run a business like that. Certainly not.
Absolutely. Like, this is the thing. When you said, yes, we all get 24 hours in one day. Yes, we do all get 24 hours in one day. I think the difference between most people is they don't actually understand the value of that 24 hours and the sort of power of what you can do in, say, half an hour compared to maybe a whole month if you really focus in on that time. And like when it comes to sort of any business, there are going to be people will test those boundaries. Yeah, if you don't have those sort of rules and principles to like live by with regards to say and your business, yeah, they'll test those boundaries on a regular basis.
Absolutely. Go and try and
Oh,
go and knock on Asda's door at 6 o'clock on a Sunday night. They're not going to go, oh, all right, well, you're here. It's like, it's shut.
yeah.
Come back when it's open. And sometimes I've had to I've had to learn that sometimes my frustration, like that thing that I just said about people texting people at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's not what I say to people.
Hey, look,
I'm
a little bit fearful what you might do to that person in the near future. That's all I've got to say is, yeah.
But that's a personal value of mine, that I think it's rude to text somebody when it's not an emergency. I think it's rude to send a text at that, and that's just a personal value of mine. As far as business service is, as far as business service is concerned, it's just like we're shut. I'm not open. I'm not open. The office opens at 10 a.m. and no amount of FaceTiming or whatever, for good reason, because I work all weekend. I work till 10 o'clock at night, and I'm not fit for purpose before 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's like, anything I say to anybody before 10 o'clock in the morning, just forget it, because it's nonsense. I promise you. And this is what I've had to learn about myself. It's like, it's no good in opening the office at 8:30 in the morning because that's what everyone expects me to do, because I can't do the best thing I can do for myself at that time of day is to look after me, because quite frankly, it's the only time I get. And you can't give everyone your mornings and your evenings. And I say to people all the time, I have my evening in the morning.
Yes. No, but like, this is the thing. Like, if you're like, as yourself being a business owner, like, yes, when it comes to sort of mental health and that sort of mental safeguards, like, this is the thing. One of the things people never actually talk about is the simple fact of how lonely it can be when you are running your own business, and the sort of challenges what come from that.
Yeah.
And when you've got like, if you're going through the quiet times of business, no problem. But when it gets turned on, really gets turned on, it's like, yeah, as much as you want to like go, can someone help me? Can someone stop? Please help me.
Yeah.
Everything's coming in rapido. And yeah, some people don't know how to handle that,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's perfectly fine. It's really healthy to like I say, like, when I find myself getting frustrated and all of that, I've learned to take that as a cue that we need to put a system in place here, because getting cross with people is pointless. It's like that, you're not going to achieve anything that way. But I've learned to take it as a cue that, like, oh my god, I'm just I'm overwhelmed and I need to put something in place, and I need to communicate that effectively and assertively, and communicate to everybody that this is for everybody's good, because there's no, it's also to be on the receiving end of that. If they've sent me a text and I've not replied, that's also frustrating. So I need to give them a viable alternative for, like, you can't contact me this way, but you can contact me this way, and make sure that is working. And without those systems in place, everybody's frustrated. You can't really get your work done. What I want to do at the end of the day is the music. I want to spend as much of my time doing the music. I don't want to be bookkeeping. I don't want to be doing the timetable. I don't want to be sending emails. I don't want to, I want to spend as much time as possible. So all of those other things have to be efficient. Those things are necessary and they need to be done. And I know that when the timetable is shining, everybody is happy and we can crack on and do the fun stuff. But those nuts and bolts need to be in place, and they need to be efficient, and they need to work to give you the freedom for it to be executed really well.
I have to ask, apart from sort of the boundaries, what would you say has been one of your sort of greatest challenges, like going into business for yourself?
Oh man. One of my greatest challenges in the years that I've worked for myself, we have had, this is something I don't talk about very much. I got divorced. We've had, I think we're on our 3rd or 4th recession. My stepdaughter had cancer. We've had a global pandemic. I've been ill. It's been nothing but challenges. It's been constant from always. It's always been. And I think the lesson to be learned is that that's the way it is. And swimming upstream is the norm. If you're not cool with that, get a job, because there's always going to be a challenge. It's been, I've been bereaved. I've lost family members. I had a friend have a heart attack and die and fall flat on the floor, and I had a gig that night. And I had to go and perform that night. And you've got to have a smiley face, and you've got to sing, not just sit there and play something. You've got to sing. It's like, it's been, the weather of life goes on whatever you do. And I think having my own business during that time gave me flexibility to deal with stuff differently that perhaps I wouldn't have. I mean, oh God, sorry, I'm saying so much personal stuff. I also had a friend who took his own life, and I just, the day that we knew when the funeral was, I haven't got to ask anyone if I can go. I just tell everyone I'm not working that day. I'm going to a funeral. And I think that was something that I struggled with when I was employed, that like, I don't know whether or not I could go to my grandma's funeral. I mean, that's no way to live to me. And there were a couple of times where it's like, I'm not asking, I'm going to my grandmother's funeral. So if I hadn't have left, I may well have been sacked before. But yeah, it's, I don't know what I'm saying really, just resilience. That there have been times when I've been really grateful that you've got to get up in the morning. You've got to get up in the morning and go to work. Because I haven't got sick pay. I haven't got compassionate leave. I don't get paid holiday. Like if I, you know, I've got people who rely on me. There isn't anybody else, you know. We've got there's nobody who can do my job. I've got so Chris works here pretty much full time in various capacities, and I have we have another team member called Connor who comes in and he teaches drums. But so we've got like a team, you know, that we're not completely alone like a lot of musicians are. But there isn't anyone who can do my work, so you know I do my work or it doesn't get done. And there have been days when I've been really grateful that, I mean, especially during the pandemic, you know, I had right at the beginning of the pandemic, they were calling for people to go back to the NHS. And I had a crisis of confidence because I was like, how can I just sit here carrying on playing ukulele while the world's on fire and just sit here and do nothing? And ultimately, I did seriously think about going back to the NHS when they were asking for people. And I didn't in the end because my stepdaughter, as I mentioned just a minute ago, she had cancer a couple of years ago, and she's in remission. She's fine now, but she's been left with a damaged immune system, and we genuinely didn't know if it would kill her if she caught it when the pandemic first hit. So I was like, I actually can't go and work in a hospital and risk bringing that home. Because she was living with us. So I like, you know, and loads of my streams of income, you know, just all of our gigs just got cancelled pretty much overnight. All of the studios in LA, all of them were shut at one point, so a lot of our composition work just stopped. But we did have the students, and I was like, I've got a community of people to serve here, and they're all worried, they're all scared, everyone's terrified, everyone's having a hideous time. What can I do to make that better for them? And that's what I focus my energy on.
Because like this is the thing, and like one of the things which strikes me about yourself, like you've got three things going on inside you: resilience, drive, and like basically there's strength going on. Where does this all come from?
Wow, thank you.
It's the truth.
Aye. I don't. That's really difficult to answer because what I'm thinking of is that I don't see that. I don't see it that way. I don't think of myself as a strong, resilient, driven person. Thank you very much for saying that. It's a lovely, it's a really lovely compliment to receive. I guess there are days when I really don't feel strong. There are days when I really don't feel resilient. Like I say, like I just got to do the bookkeeping and I don't know what I put my head in the oven. I'm such a brat about it. I really am. And if I get a cold, I'm a terrible patient. When I get sick, I really am. Ask my husband. I really am not good. But I think, I don't know. I think people said this to us when my stepdaughter was ill, and then, you know, lots of other parents are coming up, so you can see that on their face. They're like, oh my god, if that was my kid, I don't know what I would do. And it's like, and I would have said the same thing before it happened. And I think a lot of the time you just don't have a choice. What's the alternative? You know, what am I going to do? Caitlin's in hospital fighting cancer. I'm gonna just sit on the floor and cry and wish it wasn't happening, is it? I mean, there were days that, to be fair, there were days that I did that, but you know, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you don't know what you can deal with until you have to, and I think there are a lot of things like like I say, like losing my friend Jeff when I was really young for a long time. I kind of felt like I was living for both of us.
Jeff was your friend who you
He was
lost in the
he was
car
my
accident.
he was my friend that died when I was young, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, very consciously, I was like, I'm gonna do these things that he never got a chance to do. And as long as I have breath in my body, I'm gonna make every day count, because I have a gift that wasn't extended to him. I really like when people complain about getting older and stuff. I know that it sucks and people's knees hurt, and you know, my grandmother has dementia and it's really, really difficult to watch. And getting old is a difficult thing. But I just think, you know, some people don't get a chance to get wrinkles. Some people don't get a chance to need a knee replacement. And that if you've lived long enough that you've got grey hair, and then you're lucky. You know, what a gift. And I think there were the times in my life where I felt really unhappy, like fundamentally unhappy with my life, have been when I feel like I'm not making the most of my time. And I think that's why, actually, because in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, well, Jeff never got a chance.
Yeah. Because like this is the thing. I think you share kind of a rare air perspective, because like this is the thing. Look, you like there'll be quite often people will lose people and like, oh yes, I'm like yourself, I've got to embrace life, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, got to like do all the things that people have not, that they didn't have a chance to do. And then a week goes by, still on that thing. A month goes by, yeah, it's still kind of there. 2, 3, half a year goes by. Oh, it's like, yeah, I thought you were going to seize life and do this. Is that? I had this and I have that, and like, you know what I mean? The little, like the the little things in life which come up to sort of distract you from the sort of, there
Yeah.
is a finite ending to it all, and the thing what sparked you up and gave you that spark of inspiration or motivation of losing this loved one fades, but you've kept on to it. So this is the reason why I'm saying that is rare air, because there are so many people which like, yeah, and it just, it's not amnesia, it's just a case of it fades, if you go on.
It's human nature. And I think, you know, we all go through things where, you know, we resolve to do something differently. Or but I think because I was so young when it happened, I was in my formative years, and it was such a shock to be faced with your mortal. I was learning to drive when it happened,
Oh,
and I was like, oh
yeah,
Jesus, you know. um it it became, it just, you know, it went in at a young sensitive age, and in a way that, I mean, like I say, I've had lots of other bereavements, and like I say, look, I'm sure many of your listeners have, and it's always difficult, and you don't always react the same way, and all of that. But I think to be faced with my mortality that rudely when I was that young,
mm.
and I think it's because it was somebody who'd always been there as well. I mean, we've been friends since I was 2. I knew him since I was 2, and you just take it for granted that he's always going to be there.
Mm.
And I had lost a grandparent before that, um, but that's, you know, and that was hard, and you know, and it was sad, and all of the things that you would expect about losing a grandparent. But there is something about it that, at least in this culture, it's the natural order of things,
Yeah,
that the younger relatives bury the older relatives, and that's how we've come to understand the circle of life. And yeah, it was something, yeah, I think it was just something that because I was so young when it happened, it became part of my identity. And it's not like it's, oh man, it's not even like it's a choice. It's just something. It's not like, right, so this thing has happened, therefore I have decided I'm going to. It's like it's a fundamental kind of thing that ticks along, that has become, if I feel like I'm wasting time, or that like Groundhog Day of, you get up, you go to work, you do the same thing, you go home, and all of that, where I feel like I'm not embracing life or making the most of my time, that's when I become really unhappy. And there have been times in my life when that's been a problem, I think,
How
where
so?
I've taken it to the point where, unless I'm doing 12 things at once, I'm not happy. And it's like, and that's not sustainable either. There has to be some kind of balance. And I think I think it's kind of how I understood to be making the most of my time when I was younger. We were brought up in this culture where it's all about ticking things off a list and getting things done and achieving stuff, and all of that kind of thing. And I needed to mature a little bit, a lot, to get to the point where, understanding that enjoying good quality time with family, friends, partner, you know, sitting on the sofa laughing at a comedy program with your husband and your stepdaughter is a good use of time. That's a good use of time. You haven't got to be constantly making things and constantly achieving things and doing courses and getting A's, and that choosing your time to spending time in a peaceful, loving way with the people who are close to you is a good use of time. And I think there have definitely been times in the past when I've taken it to an unhealthy extreme, that there hasn't been enough space and there hasn't been enough stillness, and I have put too much pressure on myself to do stuff.
Yeah. Don't you find in those sort of moments that, yeah, you are like using your time, but you're not actually being productive in life when you're doing all of these things at once?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said that I'm a bunch of contradictions, because I absolutely am. I'm like, I I spend I tell people I make a noise for a living, like, I'm noisy. But when I want to unwind, I go to yoga twice a week. I go to meditation. I really enjoy the quiet. I find meditation and the quietness restorative, and then I rebuild energy from doing those kind of stillness practices. And the rest of the time I'm bing, 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 like running around like a mad thing. But I need both those things, and I enjoy both of those things, and that's okay. And I think for a long time I felt like that was hypocritical.
Mm.
But I think to be like a yin yang is fine. It's actually a great way to be balanced. But you know, you have some days where you run around like a mad thing, and you do 27 things on your bucket list, and then the next day you binge watch a box set on Netflix and have a nice day at home and sit in your comfy chair and drink some tea and just be still and restore. And all of that is fine. There are days when, to quote my mum, there are days when I run around like a scolded cat, and there are other days when I'm a sloth, and it's to have all of that is fine.
I think you need the day, like some days where you really truly absorb the moment, as you say, spending time with like your partner and like your stepdaughter to absorb that moment. Like basically, or like, yeah, if you're doing the bucket list thing, like I think there are times where people like go, I've got to strike the like get this off my bucket list. I've got to go to 5 different continents. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And while they're charging through this bucket list, they don't actually like go, wait. Take a moment to slow down a little and enjoy the moment. Like
Yeah.
basically, I did the London Marathon this year.
Oh,
Why?
congratulations.
Why? Thank you. Why? Thank you. But like, this is the thing. I like when I started out, I was like going at it. I going at it hammer and tong, and like it was like, yeah. And I was looking on track to be sub 4 hours at the point. I got to around about the 14th mile, and like shoes rubbing and everything like this, getting that little bit of pain, and just like going, yeah, no, about to sort of grind my teeth and like, yeah, go at it again. And I was like it was like, wait a second, stop. Like, you might not ever get to do the London Marathon again. And you went through great, like the turnout. One of the things anyone can say you can't experience it's the turnout for the people what come out and go like cheering you on. It's amazing. And like I like went through Greenwich, like blew through most of this like South London. It's like, yeah. And when I started to like really sort of look around, take it in, yeah, I won't lie. I got a little bit misty eyed at some points. And
It
like,
is amazing. Yeah.
yeah. But appreciating, enjoying that moment. Had to be done. And I think if this was another time in my life, if I was younger or like, more distracted, I would have just like breezed past it and like, oh yeah, I did the London Marathon. I ran it in this time. Oh yeah, what was it like?
Yeah. My feet hurt.
Yeah. I was in pain and I managed to get
Yeah.
oh. But yeah, not enjoying or like enjoying that moment, savoring it.
Definitely. I really love to, and I think this is like more of the artistic creative side of my brain that I really love to sit and um look at stuff. And when I was like, particularly when we're traveling, you hear people say all the time, well, yeah, we've done Rome, I've done Paris. And I think because when I started traveling, it was in a very the first thing I did was work for a charity for a year in Sri Lanka.
Oh,
So you weren't moving around, and yeah, it was amazing. And you're not just running around, going to the Eiffel Tower and going to the Louvre and and all of that kind of thing. We were staying in one place, we were working with the same people. I had a job I couldn't do. I had teaching people in a language I couldn't speak, being fed food I couldn't eat, sharing my bedroom with cockroaches and things and animals I'd never seen before. And there's a huge amount to learn. And then after that I traveled a lot by myself, and I loved, I still love to do that. We could just go and if I want to sit here on this bench and look at this, whatever it is, for an hour, then I can. And it took me a long time to sort of learn how to communicate that. And then once you're in a relationship, and you're, if you're half of a couple, and you're, traveling together, that you've got, each of you bring your own kind of wants and needs and desires and expectations to that situation. And it took me a while to learn how to communicate what I really wanted to do. And again, it's just in response to frustration that, like, I'd go somewhere and do something and think, something that I'd look forward to for ages, and then it's all over in a flash, and I'm like, well, that was disappointing. And I've sort of learned that I really do love to just, when it all goes by so quickly, I don't remember any of it. And in lots of, in lots of areas of my life. And a few years ago, my husband and I went to Rome. And if any of you guys listening have ever been to Rome, like, there's a lot of stuff to look at in Rome.
yes.
And yeah, there's loads and loads of stuff to do. And my overriding memory of Rome was going to the Pantheon. If you've never been to the Pantheon, go. It's absolutely amazing. I know it's not one of the big things, but it's beautiful. It's the building that's got a hole in the ceiling. And we bumped into a guy who gave us a really good tour when we got there, a guy called Job, who was amazing. And I took him all around the outside of the building and all around the inside, and tell you all the stuff and all of the pictures and the sculptures and what this was and what this was and all of that. And then afterwards, and I find it all quite overwhelming and just amazed, like everywhere you look there are amazing things. And then afterwards I said to Chris, I just need to digest I just need to digest this before we rush off and look at something else. I just want to digest. And my overriding memory of Rome, so we walked across the square to an amazing coffee shop, and sat there and had a coffee, and we just sat and looked at it for like an hour. And whenever we think of Rome, that is the vision that I have, because that was when I really, like you say, absorbed it and was just quiet and yeah, just quiet and looking and taking it in, and it's probably it's my warmest memory of that trip. And you know, the day we went to the Vatican, it's just supermarket sweep, like
Oh no, but like this is
so much stuff.
yeah, no, like there are two buildings in this world which literally blew my mind on the sort of size and scale of them. Like basically one, the Pentagon. I've been inside the Pentagon,
Oh
and
wow.
I mean, you you see it driving past on the freeway on like all sides, and you like go, that's a big building. When you drive into the car park, and you're just like going, oh wait, all my peripheral view is filled up with this building. That, oh my God, you get out of the car and you walk up to the building and you're like, oh my God, it is quite high. But they don't like, but it goes quite deep down. And you're like going, oh,
Yeah.
this building is huge. And the other building, the Vatican, like they're like talking to the taxi drivers, like give me a little bit of a tour, like show me the like wedding cake and everything like that. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's like, yeah. And like sort of like the pillars and like little and then it was like, yeah. And look, the Vatican, I was like, oh my God. It's like huge, huge. If anyone hasn't seen it or doesn't,
Yeah.
won't, you can't get your mind around it until you've actually seen it. It's amazing.
Yeah. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It's yeah. It's a fantastic trip. Right, definitely.
Sadly, I did not go into the Vatican. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, we did. We did. There's a lot of stuff inside.
I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. Now, oh,
We went in January actually, and the Christmas decorations were still up, and that was really good.
oh, January. Okay, I must make sure to do.
Early January. Yeah, it's a good time. It's good times to travel.
No, awesome, awesome. Now, I have to ask. I have to ask. Now, we have been like, this is a conversation I don't think you expected to go the way it did. But like, yeah, we've been talking of like, yeah, about your business, about life and like life in general and a lot of other things. But like, what would you like the sort of next sort of 5 years of your journey of life to take you?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, so I've been working on more and more creative projects. I would really love to do more of that kind of work. So at the moment, so solo wise, I'm doing One Girl, One Guitar, which you may or may not have seen. Where I think actually you mentioned it. I'm releasing a new acoustic single every 2 weeks. So yeah, like, this is what I mean about taking it to an unhealthy extreme. Sometimes that was like an idea that I came up with one after, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it for a year. I was like, that's an absolutely huge commitment. But
Yeah.
it's a songwriting project for me, really. So I'm doing that at the moment, and I'm writing and recording them as we go along. So if anyone wants to, I don't know where it's going. I haven't written all of the songs. So if anyone,
like all I've got to simply say, it's not like you're taking up too much of your time. It's not like you've got time to sit back to back with your friend and roll around on the ground. That's another story.
oh, you've got to do teddy rolls. It's the only way to celebrate a really massive dressing room.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man, busted. Yeah. Oh, that's really good fun. Yeah. You've got to take time to do teddy rolls every now and then. But yeah, yeah, I'm doing solo wise. I'm doing one girl, one guitar, and I'm really interested to see where that goes. I'm working on a score for a documentary called Instinctive. It's about the female Great Britain champion for archery and her journey with cancer, but it's just absolutely amazing story. Like, she picked up the bow and arrow when she was 50, and she's only 56 now, and she's and she became the British the GB champ, and competed for Britain, and had cancer during that time. So she's incredibly inspirational person. I feel really lucky to be working on that project.
What's her name?
Her name is Alison. I'm just wondering whether I can out her. Her name is I want to say Alison Wright. But yeah, she's an incredible. I've just been calling her Alison for ages. She's just incredibly inspirational, and I'm doing I'm working with Kate, the producer and director, and I'm writing the score for it, so I'm writing the music for that. I'm also involved with somebody who's doing an art installation called Fall, and they've asked me to write some music for that, where they're creating thousands and thousands of leaves that will be installed in a chapel space, so that you go in and you walk around and you have this experience, like walking through the leaves, and yeah, Alison Wright, and you have the experience, and the music is part of that experience. So there's more and more creative projects that are coming up, and I'm doing more and more co-writing with people, and I think I would like to just over the next 5 years spend more time making stuff and working with other people. I think I've been quite a solitary creative a lot of my creative life, and I'm certainly at the point where you're actually creating. Like, I mean, I've had bands and all of that kind of thing, but like, you know, I'll write the song, and then when I'm happy with it and it's done, then you go to band practice and it evolves from there. But to actually sit down with other people and create stuff out of nothing is an incredible is just an incredible feeling. And yeah, that's really what I'm focused on developing over the next 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. Now, my final question. Now, I must reveal I am a being of supreme power, and I can grant you one wish, and one wish only. Yes. And this has to, like, you can't, before you even start, I can see it in your eyes. You cannot just like, I would like to have infinite wishes. No. Wishes. You can't write down on a piece of paper a list of things. I wish everything on this piece of paper comes true. No, you can't do that. And like, yeah, you can't wish for COVID to go away, because look, last time, look, just to get a vaccine, I had to call on the powers of Dolly Parton and Beyonce together. It's a demonic pact I cannot go into. It's a rather bad demonic pact, but that's another story. It's like, yeah, and you can't wish for world peace because yes, I that's just too much diva power to draw on. I can't do that right now. It's like, what would you wish for?
What would I wish for? Um, having said before we press record that I didn't want to talk about politics.
Oh, here we go.
I one of yeah. I think one of my biggest concerns is that the people who are we've got a lot there are a lot of problems in the world today, and the people who are in a position to do something about it are only interested in talking about themselves. And I think if I had one wish, it would be that Joanna Lumley was in charge of everything for like maybe 5 or 10 years, and we just had a benevolent dictator that was just actually listened to people's problems and wanted to do something to help them. Yeah, somebody with some kind of moral substance to steer the ship for a bit.
Okay. Whew. It's like a
So,
benevolent dictator. Okay. It's like going, yes.
but yeah, somebody to just come in and go, no, 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 no. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. Right. All of you lot just go. That's fine. I'll take it from here. And just, there are so many, yeah, like I say,
yes.
I think there are a lot of people at the helm who have got their eyes on all the wrong balls. And we need somebody with some moral substance and some backbone to just do something to make people's lives a bit easier right now.
Okay. Maybe I'll edit that to just have like leaders with some decency and a moral backbone. And like rather than the sort of the age of DiElle. It's like, yes, it was known as a dark time.
I'm not suggesting that I'm the right person for this job, because I'm not. But I think there are a lot of people out there who would do a better job.
Her wish brought upon the change on the world. It's like going, and you were the fool who gave her the power. Well, look, I get her wish.
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
Don't look. You can say Beetlejuice all you want. That's not a problem. As long as you're not holding up a mirror like going Candyman, then we got.
Oh no.
It's like going.
No, nice people.
Oh, brilliant! Can you tell the lovely people how they can find you out here on these interwebs?
Oh, lovely people. If you would like to talk to me, you absolutely can. I'm on all the socials at DiElle Music UK. That's DIELLE Music UK. If you want to talk to me directly, probably the best thing to do is private message on Instagram. I get so many DMs on Twitter. I admit I don't get through them all. But at me, tweet me, and I'll see that. But like the private messages on Twitter, I just get millions of them. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm sorry if you've sent me a DM on Twitter and I haven't replied. I'm sorry. I get so many of them. But yeah.
Don't worry about Twitter. It's not going to be here in 2 months' time.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, at DiElle Music UK. And if you want to have a listen to some music, I'm on all the digital platforms. Come and follow me on Spotify. And you can also follow me at Bandcamp. So if you go to DiElle, DIELLE .bandcamp.com, you can sign up for updates there. You can follow on there, so you'll get notified when new music is out, and I send messages there as well. So I'll send you emails and stuff.
Oh,
But yeah,
perfect.
come and chat.
No worries. There's one time at Bandcamp.
Exactly that. This one time at Bandcamp, we had a really nice chat
Yeah,
about music and stuff.
absolutely. Absolutely. DiElle, thank you for coming on today. You have been outstanding. You've been delight. You've been a pleasure.
Oh, what a pleasure. It's been really fun. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all. And I'd like to say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors, for sticking with us to the end of the show. Please stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic. Be all the positive bees you can be in this world, and then some. Have a great day, guys.
Have a
Yes.
great day, guys.
Haha. Peace. Haha. And we are.